Call the meeting, I always wanted to do that. Start with the, everybody got woke up. Six. Okay, we got the agenda. Everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. Is there any additions, subtractions? I'll move to approve the agenda. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Move on to approving the minutes from April 23rd. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? Are there any additions or corrections? Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment? Okay. Like there's nobody. It's 9:01. Would you like to start the appointment meeting now at 9:10 for 9:10? Is everybody ready?
Then we got some. City engineer.
Okay, so I better wait then. Okay. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there any additions or subtractions to the consent agenda?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So Lawrence Lake Marina has to have a consumption display permit?
Consumption and a display permit, yeah.
So that's,
That'd be a question for Polly,
does that dip, I mean, they gotta have a license to sell.
right?
Well, they might be a bottle club where people bring their own food. That's what it is, Polly. Here she is.
Actually, that's what it is a BYOB permit.
Okay. Then I'll make
Yep.
that,
Which
I
permit?
understand.
Is that a motion?
I just had a
Oh.
question.
Oh, okay.
I see nothing else wrong with it. Sorry that we're losing, Dylan to the appraisers, but, I'll move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? I just like to
2, 3 people.
acknowledge 32 years of service for Sheriff Lapham. Been here a long time. And Elizabeth Knudsen and Dylan, of course, been with us a short time, but hate to see him go. With that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Oh, we already did that, all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify saying same sign. Consent agenda approved.
We will have to hold off on one till after 9:10.
Yeah. Looks like the next two are gonna be lengthy. They're all gonna be lengthy. Set.
5, 6, and 7 should be pretty.
All right, we'll skip to action number 5, Brian. Agreement to stripe the county roads.
Yep, so number 5 and 6, in a lot of ways go hand in hand. So the board previously approved using MnDOT to stripe our county roadways in 2024. And in order to do that, you need to have a partnership agreement with MnDOT to have them do the work. And the state will do the long lines, the fog lines, the center lines this year, but they are not doing any of the symbols. So the crosswalks and the symbols for the bike lanes and turn arrows all need to be done by someone else. So number 5, what that is to have MnDOT stripe the lines on the roadways. And number 6, we bid out to have a contractor do the symbols in La Crescent and Caledonia. So the $2 amounts for those two combined is basically what we have in the budget. So we kind of made sure that we stay within budget when we did this. So if I can get approval on number 5 for MnDOT partnership agreement, and then I'd like to do the symbols as well as item number 6.
I'll make a motion to approve 5 and 6.
Combining the two.
5 and 6. Can we do 2 of them, or you want to do them each single?
I guess it's a
Do 'em each separate. I'll make a motion to consider a partnership with MnDOT on 5.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
This fell in line with the budget.
yes. Yep, so it'll be all the center lines and about a third of the edge lines in the county.
So did they give you a reason why they wouldn't do the other stuff?
It goes on staffing availability, and this year there's been a lot of agencies requesting MnDOT to stripe roadways, and they just said staff wise and time wise, all that they have time to do is the main lines. It's typically 2 different crews, the equipment versus a lot of labor handheld stuff for the crosswalks.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Okay, the number 6. So that is for the crosswalks and the symbols. Went out for quotes on that. We received 2 quotes. Engineering estimate was $57,047.64. The low bid was Century Traffic with a bid of $59,912.00. So like I said, the $2 amounts combined, when we combine them together, is within budget. This one in amongst itself is almost $3,000 over for that line item, but it stays within the budget.
Is there a motion to approve Century?
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 7, consider accepting a low quote for stockpile aggregate, class 5.
So I was in here a few weeks ago. There was discussion on how we want to utilize that extra money that we received from the state for our county maintenance projects. As you may recall, there's an additional roughly $175,000 that we received from the state that's not tied up with some other project. The county board made a recommendation to spend $150,000 on maintenance rock on County 5 and County 20. We put together our estimates and quantities. Quoted out the work for the maintenance rock, and we received 1 bid from Bruning Rock. Total for the work is $112,714.61. So the numbers that came back were significantly under our original estimates. So I'd like to do this work, and if the board would like, I can even talk to Bruning about putting a little bit of extra rock down to try to get closer to the dollar amount that the board mentioned as far as putting down onto these roadways. We can overrun the quantities by 20% without having to change order anything above that. We can negotiate with Bruning to do the extra. So
Well, if you get them 2 rock really good, then if the guy left over, we can maybe do another one.
Is there another road that could utilize say 30-some thousand worth of material.
Yeah, we have other roadways that are similar length that we can use that same amount. So I believe, County 19 would maybe be a good road over in Blackhammer Township. County 28 could maybe use a bit of rock, but I believe that's a little bit longer. It might take a little bit more rock to do that. That gets beat up pretty good by some farm equipment. Those are probably the next couple of roadways I would recommend is one of those two.
I think you should get a price on the 19. That's the worst. Yeah, with that last Friday. It needs rock. Heavy travel that.
And this price at 1054 is delivered and spread.
That is, it'll be delivered and dropped on the roadway, kind of in a windrow, and then we'll use our staff to blade it in place.
Isn't it the goal to be like an inch?
The overall thickness as it gets spread out would be, it's only that.
So would it,
Inch,
would
inch and a
would it
half,
be
so-
better to put, 20 and get the other one, but five, a little thicker or not?
We absolutely can. I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. We already have the quantities been bid out, and then we're just overrunning the quantity on those roadways. Then we don't need to go over quotes again, and we're blading it one time as we do it.
And it would give you the opportunity, if there are bad spots or someplace that needs more, you can put more on there and you've got the availability. That
That's good.
makes sense.
Well, I think that'd be, put it on a little thicker where it needs it, and
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's do them.
because
two
it
roads up
inches
as
and
well.
inches and we
Cosmetic.
Any time
we lose
down,
that much going around the corner, but
the one where we have this put on, do you get any idea?
The contract is to have it all applied by June 28th. And, by increasing the rock, put on a little bit thicker, probably that early to maybe second week in July to be done.
Move to approve.
Second,
motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, it's 9:12. We can go back to
one.
our discussion appointment. It's in the aggressive on the school speed limit zone. I don't know.
Yeah, so I did not see the city engineer on here. I'm not sure who that.
The phone number.
I'm on the phone, Brian.
Okay, so that is Tim Ruska from WHKS, representing the city as the city engineer. And then
I'm Chief Luke Oxlager. Listen, good to meet some of you guys. I know.
yeah, so a little background on this item. The city of La Crescent had a Safe Routes to School grant that they studied all the schools within the city, trying to figure out better ways to get kids to and from school safely, looking at everything with activity and health. So a lot of it is walking and biking to school and stuff. The results of that study came back saying that a lot of parents have concerns with their kids walking to school based on the amount of traffic and the speed of traffic on Elm Street, which is our County 6 and County 29. So that was done a couple of years ago, surveys from the school and stuff. And over the last several months or longer, I have been speaking with the Safe Routes to School Committee, the city's police department, the city engineer, the wide variety of people within the city. The city PD has went out and done traffic speed analysis or counts, and then we've went back and analyzed the speeds of traffic on Elm Street and found out that the average speed of vehicles going down Elm, down County 6 and County 29 is 31 miles an hour. The 85th percentile of speed is about 34 miles an hour. So it means 85% vehicles going down that roadway is going, 34 miles an hour or less. So overall, the speeds aren't extremely high over the posted speed, but they are a little bit over the posted speed limit. And when you get into the school areas, there's been some discussion at previous board meeting. Like in the morning, when you go past the elementary school, the traffic going northbound on Elm, they're kind of backed up a little bit going to the stop sign. A lot of those vehicles are going 26, 27, maybe 30 miles an hour past elementary school because they're forced to being slowed down because of the traffic volume. Vehicles going southbound, some of the speed that the sheriff's or the city PD clock vehicles going through, they were going 36, 38 miles an hour. So this is when kids are walking to school. There are some vehicles that are still going a little bit more above the speed limit. Going up north of South Third Street past Crucifixion School area. Those had that same type of speeds where they're, the majority were going 30 miles an hour under, but there are some going 36, 37, 38 miles an hour there in that area. And then the afternoon, when you don't have this traffic backed up, then you have some of those higher speeds going both directions during that time. So law enforcement can definitely pull over vehicles and give tickets for someone going 1 or 2 miles over the speed limit. Not be very kindly on the community.
You'd be busy.
But even if they did, 30 miles an hour is still going fairly fast when there's a bunch of elementary school kids walking around. So what the city is looking at doing is having 20-mile-an-hour school zone speed limits around all the schools within the community. So the elementary school, Crucifixion School, Montessori school, and the high school, because they all have a variety of reasons. So the high school, you walk across the roadway to get out to the track and the ball fields and stuff. Montessori, has a bunch of little kids going there and a lot of traffic parks. So, but they want to not only do it on the city streets, they also want to have it being done on Elm Street, which is our County 6 and County 29. At the same time, so it's going all the way around the schools, and they want it done at the same time. So what the thought was today is to have a discussion with the county board, with the city PD, with the city engineer here, to kind of feel out the thoughts of the board and answer any questions that you may have. Ultimately, this will go to the city council for approval, I believe, on May 13th, and they're kind of looking forward to knowing what the county thinks as far as having a school zone speed limit, and then come back to the county board for approval in 2 weeks at the next county board meeting to go to 20 miles an hour on Elm Street. And that'll be 20 miles an hour when children are present. So if there's no kids around there, then it won't apply during those times. So it'll be an extra way to kind of get that traffic speed down a little bit. Hopefully get more kids to walk and bike to school, have the parents feel safe, have the kids be able to do it safely without having to worry about being hit by vehicles. So anything you want to add, or?
Well, just trying to get conformity with the whole city, and you guys are part of that. We need your help. So I'm hoping for that. It's all about the safety for children. And that's the biggest reason, first and foremost, and conformity too, of course.
It's not just the Safe Routes to School committee that looked at this since becoming chief, and prior to becoming chief, parents have come to me, hey, are we gonna have, seriously, they like a school zone, speed zone, and I'll work on it. I'll do my best. So that was a couple years ago now. So we're to this point, and I'm really hopeful that we can get something established, and just need your help. And over the years, there's been speed complaints, traffic complaints going down Oak Street past elementary school, all those streets. It's a residential area too, and cars can get going, and hopefully having those signs, having those zones, giving us a little bit more authority, stop some cars. We're not a big police department, but we'll have a little bit more leverage to do a little bit more. And maybe people will see that and be a little bit more cautious when they come into that zone, you know, as time goes on, like, okay, so.
Well, I'm in favor of moving it to 20.
The question, is the city still looking at, I know it was kind of brought forward to us here a month or so ago about citywide, 25 mile an hour reduce.
So that's basically tabled for the time being.
Just curious.
We're not pursuing that right now.
Then you just have a 5 mile an hour.
Yeah.
The school area versus citywide, if you want that.
Yeah, we're looking at the citywide speed reduction and we're not done with it, but from my understanding, it's kind of tabled at this point and this point, we're pursuing more of the school speed zone reduction to establish that first, and then we'll see how things go.
They haven't made a
Progress.
determination,
As far as
no determination.
the citywide reduction, yes, no, it's kind of just, it is where it is right now. It's not up for discussion more at this point.
Status of the bump outs, I don't know if you have the answer or if the city engineer, it's been discussed for the last 2-3 years. Small bump outs, not the big one, small ones.
Yep, so the city's been seeking funding. So Tim, do you have an update on that?
Yeah, that's just it. We've got a couple applications in for some streets for 5th and 6th, and it would be in conjunction with that if we get those funding applications funded. So hopefully we'll find out here in the next month or so if we get 6th Street, and then would build those. The plan would be to build those in conjunction with that funding.
Commissioner Birds.
So you're gonna use the signs with the flashing light or just the sign?
So I'm not sure exactly what kind of sign. I mean, I've been thinking in my head, flashing lights, or, you know, it's gonna be, you know, here, if you can imagine the sign's gonna be, I mean, in my head, we haven't really delved into what signs we're gonna get.
It's gonna for sure say,
It's gonna say
20 miles an hour.
school speed zone, 20 miles an hour when children are present. I mean,
Yeah,
that's basically basic sign. I don't know if we're gonna
Yeah.
have flashers or.
I just
Yep,
curious.
yep.
Yeah.
For sure the basic sign.
Yeah, I would think that we'd have the basic sign up first, and if we need to have, if that's still not doing enough, then you bounce it up to the next level and you put in the solar flashers.
The schools are gonna continue with the safety patrol as far as the corners in the morning, in the afternoon.
Do they have that established? Really? I mean, it's kind of hit and miss or.
Yeah, they did a couple years ago
Yeah.
on South Fourth, but I haven't been out there enough to know what their plan is, and I haven't talked to
Patrols
them.
aren't out there.
I don't see that
No,
right
I
now.
don't.
It's, yeah, I know.
Next question. So it's between 4th and 6th. And then South 3rd to South 1st. So there's a 1 block between 3rd and 4th that isn't covered by this?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we can talk about a little bit. So, I think the stuff that was submitted says, 4th to 6th, and then the alley between South 2nd and South 3rd to, South 1st. So there's about a block and a half in between, and there's a stop sign within that block. So we could make it the entire length, but you need to sign it once you leave that stop sign both ways. So the sign's not going to be till after the enforcement really goes to that zone. So in some ways, they almost need to have a little bit of a gap in there in order to have it signed correctly to provide that notification.
It just seemed to me that
But
you got a block or a block and a
Yeah.
half. Get the stop sign, you can go 30, then you gotta go 20, might go 30.
you'll be
I agree.
15 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour when that sign is displayed there. So you're not going to get up to 30 before you're going to be back into the zone. So
As far as that.
Yeah.
But this will still be enforceable. I mean, there's playgrounds there and whatnot, so school might not be in session, but you still got a lot of kids running around playing. So it's enforceable whenever kids, it's a school zone, but whenever kids are present, doesn't matter if school is in session.
Yes, sir.
There'll be a year round and.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Only when they're present, so like.
Yeah.
if there's no kids around, then it's back to 30 or what? Okay,
Yeah, it's the same as what we have in Caledonia, you know, in a lot of ways, when ultimately and everything is all said and done, it'll be. Similar to Caledonia in the fact that you have a 20-mile school zone when the children are present, when they're not present, it's 30. And then when these bump outs get installed, ultimately, it'll keep people from passing in the, or trying to sneak around in the parking lane, the bike lane. So that'll keep people from scooting around on the side, which is another hazard that we've seen over the years. So it should function more like what Caledonia's does once it's ultimately implemented.
I was looking at the distances that was proposed here and I advocate a little bit further, you know, instead of from fourth to sixth, I'm thinking of the alley between third and fourth. Down to the point almost the seventh. Ending it for the purposes of, you can't get up to the 30 miles an hour in that half block between seventh and sixth. Okay, and so placement of the signs is flexible, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I mean, we need to justify, you know, that there's guidance on, you know, this is where the school zone is based on the school and stuff, but there's flexibility based on where the crossing locations are and the conditions of the area. So I think we can definitely justify to go a little bit longer. One of the caveats I will say with that is that studies have shown that the longer a school zone is, the less people comply with it. Because as they go through a long school zone, they start your speed starts to creep up.
Well,
So, and I believe that the study says for every 100 feet, the speed creeps up at a mile an hour once you get beyond a certain length. So, so at the end, people are going to want to start creeping their speed up, but we can definitely still.
I was looking at, you know, by the time you get down, we have the advantage of stop signs at Third and at South Seventh. So, I mean, people really, until you get to Crotch Rocket out there, but. And then on the other end of town there, up like Crucifixion, I was looking at one from the mid block between South Second and South Third to almost Main Street. Again, to get them to slow down because that corner of First and Elm, that I'm very familiar with, there's kids crossing there in addition to Second and Elm. Those are just some things, but I know the one thing gotta be cautious of on 16914 sub 5A paragraph C. It tells it has to affect the school property too, so I don't know, that's something to look into.
Yep, you can actually go longer based on crosswalk locations. So that's where you
Okay,
get
that
into that crosswalk at South Fourth and at South Sixth. There's also a crosswalk at Crucifixion on South Second. So it's the crosswalks affiliated with the school. You can create school zones to those areas and around those areas.
I guess my next question is to the city engineer. Has there been discussion with either our county attorney or city attorney as to getting us wording for the resolution? What are we gonna be voting on? We won't be voting today on it, but do we have anything coming?
I have a draft resolution actually here, it just wasn't submitted in the packet, so I can.
on our action item number 1.
Yeah, it might have been submitted, but well, we won't have. That might have been. So here's.
Oh, that's.
Maybe will be tweaked based on discussions today. And that is similar to the resolutions that are being done at other communities.
So we're just gonna discuss the resolution.
Just-
Gonna approve the resolution.
Yeah, no approvals today.
All right.
So,
Oh, okay, well, that's where I got my information from. I didn't see the title of it. Thank you.
just want to get some feedback before the city goes and approves schools only on their schools to find out that the county's not in favor on Elm, so that way they.
Why would we vote? It's on an action item.
Good discussion.
It just says discussion.
Yeah, I asked for discussion. It was put on the action item side,
Discuss the
so
resolution.
I guess if you want to approve it today, you could,
Yeah.
but.
Well,
Well, we could wait, that's fine, until you get
You
your
have to
end.
tweak it.
I don't see much discussion happening on action item 1 after we can come with it.
Well, we're having it, but.
Correct, yeah.
You know, has everybody seen this resolution?
Yeah, it's in the file. I was, that's where I got my distances, is page 1 of the packets. I forgot the title. But that's what I talked about, the distances, South Sixth to South Fourth and
Luke, do you know why they don't have as many school patrols? Just the students don't want to do it or what? It's the lack of.
There, I don't know for the Safe Routes to School Committee, I don't know, I don't go to every single one of those meetings, but. I would assume it's been discussed, but they just don't have the,
And looking at the surveys, it looked like that was one of the main things people were pointing out that you sent out is the lack of any other adult or the child out there with the orange flag. I think is a real good.
what has happened over the years, even when I was still on the job, when the schools became spread out, for lack of a better word, the oldest kid in the school now is a fourth grader. Back when I was teaching it, the oldest kid in the school was a sixth
The
grader.
middle school down at the high school.
Yes.
And so what has happened, we don't have old enough young people to
Do it.
staff it. We don't have city volunteers or school volunteers to stand out.
They had adults, I know, on the South Third.
Third Street,
before.
that's
For
the
a
one
short
that I
period
know
of
of.
time.
It's just lack of staff probably, I mean, I'm just. Help out with other areas.
I knew the person that stood at Third Oaks there, so.
But some of them signage, can't they be set the flash during like the half an hour before and after school?
I would
I've
imagine,
noticed, like in Wisconsin and other places,
I would
Yeah,
imagine,
just to get, people's attention that. 'Cause obviously, that's gonna be your school zone.
I like that, I like that idea.
Yeah, the only hesitation on the flashers is that then it gives the indication that that's the only time that the schools, that it's applicable. Versus when you just leave it, and we spent some time talking about when children are present or during school hours, and we landed on the recommendation of when children are present, so that way then it's applicable, like you guys were talking about, whenever kids are in the area, whether they're at the playground or just crossing the street. Gives some more flexibility to law enforcement on that side of it.
That's kind of right on the lines I was thinking of, because you just said inside the playground. So you got the fenced in playground, so if there's kids in there, 3-4 of them playing ball, is that present?
From what I understand, that won't apply.
It's when they're on the sidewalk.
Yeah, sidewalk outside of
That's what I
the
was
area.
assuming it would be, you said it in the playground, so that's why I was kind of
Yeah,
curious,
no, that's a good question. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they're in the fenced area, then it's not applicable. It's just when they're on the sidewalk.
or the city street or the bike. You got three.
Or they're-
basically there.
They're being unloaded by buses or whatever.
Right.
Going on, is going on.
It's kind
line
of
of kids.
courtesy. I mean, when
Right,
you see kids walking along the road, you do want to slow down. I do. Anyway,
should.
should, yeah.
You just don't know when one's gonna like say that.
Yeah, yeah.
It depends on the officers. Respect,
Oh,
because they can give it, it's a school zone, 20 miles per hour when children are present. They can still give a ticket for going over 20, even though there might not be any kids there. If they want.
There's,
No.
Yeah. I got one.
Oh, they're speaking from experience.
But summertime, there was no kids.
I think I'm gonna I think one thing also, we need to be cautious not to say only when school present, because during the summertime. There is a daycare facility on the east side of Elm Street that goes to the swimming pool, crossing at 6 and sometimes at 7. And so, if we say it's during school only, and we're not protecting those people when they're going to swim in the summertime, so. I just say when kids are present, this is the speed limit. Is that workable?
Yep.
I guess those are things that need to be hashed out in the enforcement.
and that's what we've been going back and forth too for the last few months, like, which one should we have? So we've all, decided, when children are present.
Yep, so that's what that resolution says in is when children are present.
Okay, on the
And the
sidewalk.
city engineer recently explained that's why they came to that.
Anyway, I think I think it's consensus that we should do something, and I'd like to see a tweaked, finalized something for 2 weeks.
For the locations.
good information.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Good job.
Thanks, Tim.
Look.
And
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Was that a discussion?
Yeah, we pretty much discussed action item number one.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah, when I saw it was on the agenda kind of twice,
Twice.
Consider approving the scope of work for Bolton Mink to conduct an aeronautical survey for the RNAV approach. Brian.
yeah, so. What this is, so the airport does not have an instrument approach landing that can be used by the pilots, so. We have been working with the airport commission's been wanting this since it got taken away from the pilots over a decade ago. And we've been working with the FAA for about that same length of time on how do we get it back. And ultimately, we had to do an update on the airport layout plan and the master planning that was completed and approved by the FAA a year ago. And this is the next step to getting an instrument approach back, is to go out there and do a flight. It needs to be designed up, but in order for that to be done, you need to fly the vicinity of the airport to know the height of all the trees. So this needs to be done at a separate time from when the county does our aerial photography, looking at, changes of buildings and stuff. This needs to be done when there's leaves on the trees and stuff, and they're looking at a high quality imagery that they can pinpoint elevations up the top of trees when their leaves are on. So they're going to be working with Bolton and Mink and a consultant through them to get the air flights done, do some preliminary design work, get all the documents submitted to the FAA, and then ultimately the FAA will go through and design the instrument approach. And budget wise, this is packet to go back several pages in. FAA share would be 90%, county share 5%, state share 5%. So out of the $94,000 agreement, $4,700 would be the county share.
Why does it cost so much money to figure that out?
The flight alone, I'm not sure what the county pays for our flights over the county, but the flight alone in this is over 50,000. Anything when you deal with the FAA and Midnight Aeronautics, you have lots of meetings, lots of discussions, lots of people involved, and it's not cheap when you go and hash stuff out over and over and over again and pass documents back and forth dozens and dozens of times. So.
In the budget,
Yes.
it's something that will enhance the use of the airport from the perspective of having a instrument capacity to be able to land the plane weather-wise and whatnot. Will increase the ability to use the airport dramatically as far as that's concerned. And people wanting to stop at the airport. I think it's a good thing.
But this is just to approve, to see if it's feasible, right?
Well, we have to do to get it.
Yes, yeah, so this is all the photography, all the stuff for the imagery and the heights and stuff, and then the FAA will design an approach that'll work, and I'm pretty sure it's feasible. We might know if might find out there's some obstructions that we need to take down or put a light on or some different things, but I believe in the end we will get an approach back. It'll probably be 2 years before we get that approach. But this we need it for that. And when you said as far as pilots coming in, we used to have a business out at the airport that, their business was repairing equipment at different airports, and they ultimately pulled out because one of the reasons is that they couldn't fly in and out during certain times because of the weather conditions and at night because they don't have the instrument approach. So this would help if a business wanted to fly in and out during certain conditions that they can't do now.
Part of the long-term process. You gotta have this before you can move to the next step in order to get it.
Well, if we want to get more traffic in there, we're going to gotta have something like this.
it appears to be the benefit to get it, and this is the first step of several, so. With that information, I move to approve the Bolton and Mink survey contract.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Since it is included in the budget already. I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Number 3, consider future hangar construction and land rental rates for Houston County Airport.
Yeah, so this one might be a little bit longer discussion. So the airport commission has been, having. We've met, we've talked about the future of the airport on numerous occasions. The county board approved building additional taxi lanes, and a couple months ago, we had a discussion about, does the county want to build some T hangars? Do we open up space for land rental to let people build private box hangars? What do we want to do with that space? The ALP that was approved shows a combination of both, having some T hangars out there that are county owned, and then also having some space for box hangars to be privately built with some private landowners. So during the airport commission meeting, there were some notes that were taken, and the sheet that was submitted to the board that has a bunch of handwritten writing on it has some
15 years,
complication.
10 year.
That's
Yep,
my chicken scratch.
yep, that was Bob's chicken
Looks
scratch.
familiar.
Yep, I thought he did a really good job writing it out, so either I could scribble my own notes to duplicate that, or just submit that to the packet. So I just submitted what Mr. Burns put together. So I called, looked, and then also submitted within the packet some rates, what we currently have for rates we rent out for the land. And then there was also a study that was done by the state a couple years ago, what hangar rental rates are at other airports. But told you need to be real careful using that number, because most of the hangars out there, the other airports are 30+ years old. They're in poor shape. So you're comparing, a brand new T hangar versus an older unit someplace else. You might not want to duplicate those costs identically, because you're providing something different than what they have. But it gives a ballpark idea of what other places charge, and other places, the rates within that has a lot of rates that are $90 to $200+ per month for T hangar rental rates. I called over to Fillmore County, spoke with them about Preston. They had 19 people on their list looking for T hangar rental space when they went to build their T hangars 2 years ago. They called the people up on that list. 2 of those 19 wanted to rent. The other 17 pulled out for a variety of reasons. But out of their 8-unit T hangar they build, they are full. All those, so even though only 2 of those 19 on their list wanted to rent, they found other ones to rent space. Their rental rate is $180 per month. They looked at what other airports were over in that area, what the Rochester airport had for rental rates, and they came up to $180 per month is a good rate for them. They're also said they do have demand for people to build private box hangars. They said if we provide space available for box hangars, people to privately build, there more than likely will be demand to have people build some private hangars here as well. So and their thought, having that good combination of both T hangars and box hangars makes sense. They think we'll have demand both ways. But we need to come up with a rate, and if we want to do that or not. And so we have not advertised yet for any type of lease space for hangar rental for that land for box space, not knowing what that rental rate is going to be. I know if we advertise, the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to come back and say, well, how much is it? And I want to have that discussion with the board on how much do we want to rent that land for? And then also, do we want to give priorities for the existing tenants out at the airport? So that front row of hangars at some point in the future is going to probably need to move out of that to rip those hangars down to get more space for wider taxi lanes and have separation from the runway. We don't have a firm date to when that's gonna need to be. It's all based on use of the airport. When we get a bigger plane out there, that'll force the county to no longer rent that front land and have those hangars removed. So do we want to give some priority to those tenants, to the existing tenants to move over to a different location? Or not? So I think that's the discussion today is the rates, and then do we want to prioritize, first row of hangars, they get first priority for renting if we have space available. Then you get to the other hangar owners, and then you get to, the general public that's not out there currently.
Well, I think it should be the ones that are there should get the first choice. They've been there for 25 years. Probably since it started. Yeah. How many do we have renting there now? In that front room?
We have 14 units, I believe 11 planes out there currently. So a couple of them don't have planes in them right now.
Built a T hangar, it would be for 8 planes or 6.
Yep, so while we can build whatever size we think is best for us, the bigger the T hangar, the more economical it is to construct. So most places are building either 8 or 10 unit T hangars, because a T hangar, it's kind of like have inverted a T and then an inverted T back and forth as you clip your way through it. So there's some wasted space at the ends. So if you build a 6 unit T hangar, you have that space at the end that can't be used for a plane. You add 2 more units, 100% of that extra space becomes usable for planes, and you still have the same amount of space at the ends that can't be used for planes. So Bolton and Mink, our consultants, is saying that a T hangar price as of right now, an estimate for an 8 unit T hangar is 1.7 million. And that cost would be 5, should be in the end 5% local cost. The remainder will be picked up by other funds through the entitlement funds, borrowing from other airports. There's some special bill funds available to help build them. I got told yesterday that there is a different airport that built a 10 unit T hangar that cost them $3 million. So they said the prices have been shooting up. So I don't know if 1.7 million is a good number, or if that number is going to ultimately come back way higher. And ultimately, once you just make a decision, bid it out. If the number is high, you can always, adjust to make plans at that point to back off or do something different. A couple years ago, the price of an 8 unit T hangar was $1 million. So it went from $1 million to 1.7, and I was just told that a 10 unit is 3 million. So
That's an 8 unit for 1.7 is.
Yep.
So-called.
Yep, and it'll be to meet FAA standards. It'll be a pre-engineered metal building. Anything that's above and beyond essentially bare bones, electricity would be 100% local costs. If you wanted to add type of water into the units or something, they don't pay for that type of stuff. It'll be just the bare bones unit.
Just building, no utilities, no nothing else.
Is that what the 3 million was? Do we know? It's just the building?
I do not know what's in that 3 million.
Land acquisition, we don't know if it's tax away to the building. Utilities, whatever.
It sounded like it was just a building, but I have no idea as far as, how big the units were within the building. They maybe could have been very big T hangars units rather than the standard size, and they could have had additional utilities and other stuff.
Yeah, using the 1.7 million for 8 T hangars, based on the square footage we talked about, it's call it $130 a square foot. If you take 10 divided, into the 3 million and then use 8, so that works out to $180 a square foot to build it. Everything I chicken scratched was based on 1.7. So, the rental rates would have to go up in order to recover our cost in the facility. And I'm using 15 years, the hangar should last 30, but one, you don't know if it's 100% occupancy. And
I was listening, you said you commented something about other funding. What would help pay for this? Where would the funding come from?
Yep, so the county gets 150 million each year on entitlement funds. So 100, sorry,
Now,
150
just did
yeah.
it say?
150,000 each year in entitlement funds. So that comes to the county every year toward projects. So the primary purpose of that is to, maintain and repair, make improvements for the existing facilities to have first, their runway, the pavement conditions, stuff that's in good shape, then you can use that money toward hangars. So FAA is on board if you're using that money toward hangars. So you can accumulate up to 4 years of that. So that's 600,000 is the most that you can accumulate. But if you start to lose that money beyond 4 years, you can loan it out to other airports and you get it back. So we've had other money coming in from other airports to backfill. So we have roughly $1 million worth of entitlement funds. And then there was some bill funds during the COVID times with the CARES Act and stuff. There was some federal funds that brought in another roughly 110,000 per year for 4 years. We don't have all that money yet, but some of it's still coming. So total between the entitlement funds and the bill funds, we have 1.4 million dollars. To get to the 1.7 or to get a little bit higher, what we're going to need to do is go out there and we're going to need to find another 450,000 to borrow from another airport. So, and there's other airports that are in the same boat that the county, that Houston County was. We didn't have a use for a big project. So we borrowed our money to someone else. Other ones are going to be in that same boat where they don't have a use. They're going to lose their money. They'll loan it to us. And then in future years, we'll return that money back to them. So it's moving money around between us and other airports, but it doesn't ever really touch the county's books. It shows up on the FAA side. It shows up on our bookkeeping side, but the money doesn't, come directly to us. It's just, when we need the money, we get it. When we don't have a need for it, it stays with the FAA. If you don't use it, it gets lost. It goes to someplace else. So the feds decide where that money goes.
So, but the Fed's 90%, is that some of that money gets used?
Yep. So the feds is 90%.
That's where they get
Yep.
their
So
90.
yep. So that's where the feds 90 comes from. And then 5% local, that does not cover the local costs. Then we have 5% local Houston County levy dollars, and then 5% MnDOT aeronautics funds. The state picks up half of the local cost. So that's the 5% the state picks up. So that reduced that $1.7 million total cost down to 5% of that is the Houston County's cost for the hangars.
That's where the land rent and hangar rent comes to reimburse the county for their cost. 10-year and 15-year review based on 1.7.
Yep.
We
Yep. So
won't
one,
know unless we bid it out, we won't know actually how much.
yeah, yeah. So a $1.7 million hangar account ends up being $85,000 for Houston County, and the rest will be covered by state and federal funds.
So that 85,000 comes out of our levy.
And then as you rent the hangar, you rent the space, you recoup that money, over time. Do you ever fully recoup everything? Maybe, maybe not, but well, keep the hangar for 30 years and it's, minimal maintenance over the first 20 years and you have the hangars full. Yeah, you get the money back, but it just takes years. And that's the calculation showing 10 years and 15 years, also accounting for the taxi land, the land plus the cost to construct the taxiway.
Land and the tax.
Yep.
I don't think we would increase the levy. I mean, the $85,000, I would propose we take that out of either a capital account or take it out of the highway department.
Are you okay with that, Brian?
I don't know. Can you take it out of, I suppose, I mean, there's always in shuffle. The money that's in the highway account, I mean, I know that state money can't be taken away from highway toward local levy.
So am I looking at this correctly here that Bob put together that on the one plan to be $187 a month rent, and on the other plan it's like $236 a month rent. Is that what those meant?
10-year payback.
Yep, so
So the 10 years a little aggressive, we might not get people. to-
No. And I guess the other question, when a group leases or rents a hangar, do they have a commitment for so many years? 5 years, is that what's the length of a usual contract lease?
that is, we can determine that on whatever the county decides, as long as we get renters that are willing to do those terms. I know that I did hear that Fillmore County, they've already had 2 renters that have came in and left and had other ones kind of fill in that space, so there has been some movement that they've seen for rental, depending on where they live and what they have for a plane and stuff. But, I think we can definitely ask for a 1-year lease to go beyond that. I'm not sure if we can do, if we're gonna have demand to do a 5-year lease, or if it's gonna need to be 1 year, or maybe we can get 2-year commitments.
I think one of the things is our location close to La Crosse. I'm trying to visualize where the next airport would be. I think it's over Viroqua. And there's another one up in Trumbull County someplace.
So La Crosse has an airport. They have 58 T hangar spaces. Their website says that they are 100% full at this time. Winona has an airport. I haven't talked to them as far as how many units they have. They have a few years ago, they were full. I know up there for space. There's an airport in, I think, Decorah is the next closest that. So the ones that fly here, they usually talk about La Crosse and Decorah being the other 2 main airports. Next one down in Waukon as well.
Does not Waukon have an airport?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Waukon is an
Rushford
airport.
has one, because I
But,
built
yep.
that
Yep, Rushford has as
one that
well.
burned down. Preston's got one.
I'm just kind of looking at the La Crosse market as, we're one of the closer ones to La Crosse market, should that happen. I think the benefit would be to have availability and to expand our airport, because I think it's becoming more used, for lack of a better word. I mean, you're getting a lot of business coming and going, I understand, right?
Every year changes, depending on weather. The years when you have really nice weather, you seem to get more flights, and then fuel prices. When our gas prices are lower than adjacent airports, and we have a lot more transits coming through and landing. So it has the number of flights uptick over time, or is it just based on the ebbs and flows with weather and fuel? I don't know one way or another that way. I know that there's a lot of people that out of La Crosse that they don't want to be flying out of La Crosse because they have landing fees. It's a busier airport. They like to have, get a little bit away, easier to come and go out of Houston County's airport than what it is out of La Crosse.
So we have 11 planes out there right now, so we actually need 11 hangars. They all stay.
We have.
The only hangars
They're
that,
gonna have to take down that one room.
yeah. So the first row has 6 hangars. So those 6 eventually will need to come down. So the other 2 rows, they can stay, but they're all hangars that were built back when the airport was first built. So they're all from the mid-60s to, the newest one in that second or third row maybe was built in the early 70s. But they're all old hangars. They've seen better days. They're not new.
Well, we gotta provide 6 for sure. Front row.
We don't have to provide any until we get the approval for the twin engine planes.
Yep.
Then they have to come down. They gotta have someplace to go. Until that time, they probably aren't gonna wanna move it to new T hangars because the rent is higher than what they pay.
What do they pay now?
So why don't we wait till we find, huh?
But with the knowledge that the money that we've got in the bank right now from $150,000 a year, the 110,000. Use it or lose it. After so many years, it goes back to FAA.
Yeah.
So we should find that older money someplace to go. Be it new lighting on the runway resurfacing or whatever, to use it so we don't lose it.
Well,
Yeah.
we did the culvert work and
Yeah, so.
we've done some maintenance to it.
Yeah, so the next thing to really spend money on at the airport would probably be lighting improvements. And then after that, probably looks into, repaving the runway, which repaving the runway, we're probably 8 years out on that, as far as really having that need. Lighting, we have an old system, the new LED stuff works a lot better, costs a lot of money, does it? Wait a couple years, technology is going to keep evolving. We might get a better system by waiting a little bit longer on the lighting. But we definitely don't want to get to the point where we're losing money. So a lot of this entitlement money we're going to be losing in the next couple of years if we don't spend it. The bill money will start losing. Federal fund, when you get it, usually you have a 4-year window to spend it. If you don't spend it, you lose it. Entitlement funding has been kind of unique. We can actually loan it to someone else and get that money back with an agreement with them. Most federal funds, like the bill funding it, you can borrow it to someone else and get it back. That money is just gone. And then the federal FAA will decide where that money goes. So if we're going to build a hangar, the time to do it really would be, build it, this year, next, to get federal funds lined up, probably next year would be the time to build it.
We'd have 85,000. 85 to 150,000, depending on the actual cost of the hangar. That we'd have to fund through either capital account
Your budget.
or possibly out of his fund balance. Or
You asked as far as, I think, do you ask as far as rental rates, or someone asked what the rental rates are now? So the front row of hangars, they pay 1,000. So in 2023 numbers, they don't have 2024 numbers. Front row, the big one on the end pays just over $1,000. $1,007 was last year's rates, but that one's quite a bit bigger than the other hangars. The other ones on the first row, $336 per hangar. Second and third row, about $240 per hangar, and that's per year. They pay on, that's the land rent, since they own the hangars, they don't rent the hangar space. So, and then that has increase based on 1/2 of the CPI, which last year the rates ended up being $7 to $11 for the hangar increase. So this year's prices are probably about $350 in the front row and $250 in the second and third row. Annual.
So why don't we let those people that want a hangar, we'll let them build their own hangar and we'll lease the land?
Yep, so we can definitely do that. So it comes down to, what do we want to lease? What do we want to build? Where do we make available? So do we reserve the front row off the first taxi lane row for a future T hangar or something, and we lease the second row for private box hangars, and then see what that demand is, and then go from there? Do we want to do both at the same time, or have space available for lease and the T hangar?
So it's a combination of both.
We could
We're still gonna build a T hangar, but
We
we're
can-
also gonna let private people build.
we can do whatever the board decides. So I'm gonna pull out, within your packet, you had a sheet that looked like this. So the runway is right up here at the top of the sheet, or right off the sheet on the top. So the first row taxiway, that front row would be the one that's currently scheduled to be a T hangar. And then the row behind that, we could lease for box hangar space. There's actually land available to extend either one of these first or both those first two rows longer if we wanted to. Or there's space to add a third taxi lane on the bottom side of the sheet, and it had more box hangers down here. So we have a lot of options on what we can do. Is just, what does the board want to do? Private box hangers for that space, we can't use our entitlement dollars, we can't use the bill money. So that's all privately funded to do that. So I think it would be a good idea to, make some land available for people to build their own hangars. Figure out what we want that rate to be. But how do we want to spend our entitlement funds and our bill money? Do we want to spend that on a hangar? Do we want to, shift and go a different path and try to focus on lighting or something else? At the same time, even if we did lighting in a couple of years, we may be back to the same boat with, how do we want to spend that money? So it's just, what do we do first and when and how?
Key hanger actually costs. Only from, you can always, come on, now is. Not accept the floor. A bit.
Yeah,
3 million scares everybody off. 0.7 kind of scares everybody off, but. Till you actually know.
it's not a huge amount of time and effort to put together a proposal to advertise out for the T hanger. So the way I've heard that it's typically done is that we'll work with our consultant on figuring out exactly the size of the T hanger the building wants, some real basics. And then you bid it out more as a design build type project. Say, the builder's going to work with a T hanger supplier, manufacturer, and they'll figure out what the best unit is that's the most cost effective, put a bid to us. So we can get a cost fairly quickly. But timing wise to do that with the funding to know what's going to happen on the FAA side on if you can accept that or not, we're going to need to wait until make a decision on the hangar by late summer. Get in the budget for next year, and then you bid it out in the early part of winter, maybe get it back, maybe even into early 2025. Get all the funding lined up, and then you start construction in July or August of 2025. So it's not going to be built for funding in 24, but we need to have a decision made in the next few months. So it doesn't need to be today, by any means. But if we want to rent space for land, knowing what that dollar amount is to start getting it advertised, the sooner we have that, the sooner we can advertise.
We get 200 on some of them now a year. That's the land.
And no, those are the typical hangar space. There are 30 by 40. And the recommended size is to provide space for a 50 by 50 box hangar. So you give them land space that's 60 feet wide by 90 feet long versus right now with that little entrance, it's 40 by 50. So you're taking up twice as much land as what they currently are. So I think we can account for what the current prices are, but also you need to look at it's a lot more land on these new units because they're going to be bigger. So, and they're individual boxes. The current T hangers, if you go inside of them, they are stick built. You can walk, actually, to get inside the second or the third unit, you walk in the end door and you walk through your neighbor's T hanger or the neighbor's hangar space to get to your plane. So they're all open on the inside. It's one big open long hallway with maybe a parcel wall to have some privacy, but it's still wide open. So there's no security, you better trust people in the other units within your same.
Will we put electricity in there? No heat, is there? No water?
Just the electricity.
Bathroom, they cannot have sleeping accommodations just for them. That's not space to rent so you can park your camper for the winter or something. Yes.
Who monitors that?
We do, we're not out there every year. It's more complaint driven, but we We have enforced it in the past and we have done walkthroughs of all the buildings out there. We made them make some changes, taking stuff out and. It's not something we're out there actively policing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, so. If we know that someone's putting a camper in there, it's one thing if they pull their plane out, fly out someplace, they park their vehicle inside the hangar for, while they're gone. It's another thing to put a camper in for storage all winter, so.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, we should maybe fence that area out there too, because he's having troubles with dogs coming down there. His dog almost killed another dog, so he doesn't need no lawsuits. Then he had a couple cars that we drove down and went right through his yard. So we might wanna get that boundary fence put up sooner or later.
Cars drove down to where?
He drove right down through his yard and went past his house.
Yeah. Well, that's his driveway, isn't it?
Yeah,
They weren't supposed, they were, people wanted to get to the airport or what?
oh, they went, no, they come from the hangars and then they left the hangars and drove down
Oh.
through the trucks to get out
Okay,
to the highway.
okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, no,
And
I
then
know.
their dogs have been coming down there shitting all over his grass. But that's all I got.
So how many people are on the waiting list to rent this T hangar?
We don't have a list. We get anywhere from, I would say, probably 3 to 6 calls per year of people looking for renting space from us. We usually don't ask them, what type of, if they're looking for a short duration or long term. If we know of someone that has empty a hangar without a plane in it, we'll pass them on that way. Or I've passed people on to Andy before, had a, gave Andy their number to, he can reach out to them to try to find a place for them. So we haven't kept an active list, and as we've kind of heard from Fillmore County, even though they had a long active list, it really didn't matter when it came down to it. It wasn't until they started building the hangar that they were renting out and actually filled it. So I know that there has
So
been.
if you build it, they will come.
So,
Well, it might,
If we get
The
that.
flyers have been saying that for years, that if you build it, they will come. I do know that at our last meeting, we did have one person that was interested in having, a hangar out there. He didn't say one way or another as far as it was privately built or renting space, but there is demand. We just don't know exactly how much demand that is. So the best I can go off of is Fillmore County built it and they found people to fill their hangars. So, and that's at $180 per unit.
I think we need to get more information to go forward with this. It's an idea to draw people to the county to maybe help with the businesses. Most of all, there's a supply and demand. And I believe there would be a demand if we had it, because I don't know what La Crosse rates are. They're totally full. But somebody might say, hey, we can go up to Houston County, to Caledonia and get a similar or better, newer, whatever, and get away with the congestion of the La Crosse Airport. It's a busy airport, not as busy as it could be because there's only one major airline coming and going, but of course there's the FedEx and all the other airplanes that come in there. So maybe somebody would like to come to a smaller, more amenable area to work. Thank you.
So what do you think would be a fair rate to charge to get the land?
I think a reasonable, if I was gonna do it, I would look at the square foot of the current rates of what that size is and use that same dollar amount per square foot and charge that rate. So it'll probably be, I would say maybe double what the current rates are would be reasonable because they're taking twice as much space, twice as much land. So that increases that rate on the second and third row from $240 per year to roughly $500. It's $50 $40 a month to have land to put a hangar on. That's cheap. It seems reasonable to me. Yeah.
Go to a trailer court and park your trailer, 200.
Yeah.
Month.
So we're at a consider,
I think 500 would be a fair for renting the land. If they're gonna get that size.
If they rent the land and build their own hangar, I mean, we would have to have some specifications on the hangar they built. We don't want a tin can that's gonna
tip over.
tilt sideways or whatever.
We
As
kind
far
of,
as the construction, and now you look at that. What can they build a hangar? How much is it gonna cost and what's, what? Do they have the cash to pay out? Are they gonna have to borrow the money? Are they? Which is more cost effective, build your own or rent from the county?
Well, that wouldn't be our,
It's not.
it's not our worry, how,
Right. I'm just saying that if it costs them $250,000 to build a hangar,
Mhm.
as an example. They can rent a hangar from the county, let's say it's $200 a month. To $2,400 a year. Take them 100 years to pay the $250,000. Which is more effective as far as they're concerned.
well, and if they build their own, we kind of want to have some kind of rules there that they all gotta be the same colors or, have something, so it doesn't look like it's easier.
And you get into, if someone has two planes, they want to have a bigger hangar, do you allow them to take up two lots to build over, and how do you?
Because if they build their own, they gotta pay it all themselves. We're paying 5% of the cost using FAA and state of Minnesota monies to pay the rest of it, so that's how come we can be cheaper. On those T hangers.
Yeah,
How long do we
because-
want to get the recovery
because the government is subsidizing their hangars.
that we build?
Yeah. They don't have to pay nothing. Good deal for the plane user.
Well, I'd rather rent one for 2,500 a year than to have to build one.
I just use that as an example. How much it
Sure.
costs.
But I mean, just using figures as an example, it makes more sense to get a 2,500.
So where are we at here? Considering construction and rates. And do we want to get some more information or what's?
Whatever you guys want, I will go and do the legwork and
Well, I think we
get
need more
numbers.
information. That's my, agree with what Dewey said, that we need to get more information.
We need some costs, we've been using it 1.7 and then commented that some places 3.
3 million, so.
So, I mean, or somewhere in between, with today's construction costs and materials will start to come down a little bit, I understand it, but. Not enough to whatever, but I think, I'd like to have a 8-unit, 8T thing. But I'd like to know what's gonna cost and the return on the investment. Even though it's not totally our funding, that we are in charge of.
And I'd like to see a list of people that would use that. If there's a,
Well, we could send a letter
A
out
need
to all
for
the
it.
ones that are there.
yeah, let's find out if there's a need for it.
Once the airport is approved for twin engine, there'll definitely be a need because those hangars on the first row have to come down.
I think we should get the lighting first and then we can do the hangars, because without the lighting, I don't think it's gonna gain many people coming there with two engines. Correct?
We already have lighting, so the lighting is not gonna change other than being more efficient and less maintenance for us and stuff. So, we've been maintaining the lighting that we have. The issue is that it's getting tougher to find the light bulbs, and they're being phased out. They're not as efficient, and we can look at getting, the different lighting improvements that can be made to, help direct the guide path in, but
This new light, they'd be able to hook up, if it's a foggy night, they can hook right up to that light, and it would bring them right in, correct, with that new. You put in that new light for twin engine?
You're
the
talking
main-
instrument landing.
Yeah.
the instrument landing, so the instrument approach, so that's separate from the lighting.
Yeah.
So that's essentially using their instruments, their GPS to kind of guide them in that way. And then there's lighting improvements where you replace the incandescent lighting they have out there with LED lighting. So that's gonna take all new wiring and new controls to monitor that or to control that lighting. And then there's also guide path lighting you can put in there so the planes can know if they're too high or too low coming in. So there's those lighting improvements that can be made. I don't know if that's gonna change who uses the airport near as much as the Eastman approach, because that open up the door of when you can land based on weather conditions. Lighting is not really making that change, it's just enhancing safety. It's making it a little bit easier to see in the, with the LED lights or the incandescents, but it's more of a maintenance and cost to operate type of thing for us.
Our goal is to get more twin engines coming in here and more traffic.
More of everything.
How many people do we have in our club out there now? Is that growing or is that staying the same?
I don't know what the numbers are now, but I was told here over the last year or two ago, the club has really grown. There's a lot of young pilots coming in. For a while, there was a lot of retirement age people that were in the club and stuff, and they were getting older, but there's a lot of new members coming in, a lot of younger flyers. They don't necessarily have planes, which is why they're in the club, they can rent the plane and use that to fly. The club has talked about even adding a plane at one point. I don't know if they're still talking about that. So there's enough demand that they're could maybe even use another plane. So
I think we need to get a price on a hangar.
But how do we do that? Just a rough estimate from the engineer, or do we? Put it out for bids, get bids, and then with the notation that the bidder accept or deny.
the tough part is that the prices are changing so much, and so there's not a whole lot of hangars that get built each year just because of how funding works in other projects. So I can definitely go back and look at price of all the hangars that got built in the last couple of years. But
Be nice to know.
prices
what
have
Rushford-
changed so
It'd
much.
be nice to know Rushford's hangar, that new one, they're bid. They just put bids on it.
Yeah, could we find out?
Yeah.
On that, the square foot price on that hangar.
Yeah, what I've been hearing though is that prices are getting outdated so quickly that it's tough to look at a price for something I bid 6 months ago because it's just changing so fast, and that's the tough part
So it gets cheaper.
that even we're in.
Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, hopefully material prices are coming down and it does get cheaper. On the roadway side, there are a few things that have gone down in price. Most items are going up. I don't know if hangars are gonna go down. Hopefully they level off at least.
Well, I think we should really be realistic there and think it's gonna be 3 million and not 1.7. So we're talking 150,000 input from the levy.
3 million was for a 10 hangar. We're talking an 8 hangar, so we should be less.
Yeah, but we don't know, but what he just said that it. Like going by what Rushford built out, that's gonna change, doesn't matter because it's gonna change so fast, it'll be more money after that, so.
Oh,
If we bid it out, we can always deny it, but we'll know because we'll have a bid.
yeah, I will try to get a price from the FAA on all the hangars that have been built in our region, not necessarily just Minnesota, but also in Iowa, Wisconsin that's close by. What the price were, the size of the unit, and the bid date.
Silas, be able to get that.
I don't know if he can, but I can work directly with the FAA to get it. Might take a while, 3-4 weeks for them to respond to say yes, we can, or no, we can't, but I'll-
Part of the reason that this is costly is because you're dealing with federal money, so they gotta meet the federal wage requirements and all that.
Studies. Engineering.
yeah, the nice part, right, that's the other thing right now is when we got approval to do the taxi lane, you get the environmental clearance and everything, you're good for 5 years. So get beyond that 5-year window, we need to go through and get a bunch of clearances again to start the process. So we got that clearance, we were buying the land essentially, so once you get, 3 years out, we're at the end of that clearance, then we're doing some processes all over again, so.
I know the cost is a scary thing, but we've got the, when we put in the taxiways, we should at least find out as close as possible what it's gonna cost to build one, so we know.
And find out from the people that are there if they're interested in moving. That would be a big plus too, you know.
I don't think anybody.
They're gonna wanna know how much we're charging.
Yeah.
And we need to have numbers.
They're not gonna wanna move until that road is gonna come down.
Yep.
You're getting by for next to nothing compared to what it's gonna cost.
Right. Right. And some might just pull out and not have it either.
Well, there's a lot of them in that club that are getting up there in age too. And hopefully they're getting young guys in.
Well, let's get some more facts and figures.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Let's do that.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go on to action item number 4, accepting low quote for Varner asphalt sealers for 50,000 for crack filling at the airport.
Yeah, so we went out for quotes for crack filling and we received one bid for Farner asphalt sealers. So Farner's doing the other seal coating work for us this year on the roadway side. So that's probably why we only got the one bidder from them. They're already going to be in the county doing work. The cost I thought was real reasonable because it's not just a crack filling. When they do work on the runway, you need to do different traffic control stuff and have other requirements that are put into place by the FAA. So you don't have a pilot that goes in and lands on people out there on the runway doing work. So our engineer's estimate for the work was $50,000 and Partner Asphalt Sealers bid came in at $40,500. This cost initially it is 100% local cost to do the sealing work. However, we are going to try to get reimbursed for 2025 FAA funding. So no guarantee if we can get funding. It's one of these things where I know Sheila and myself always look at some of the stuff. It's like, okay, so you build it, then you try to get reimbursement after the fact, but that is how we're pursuing it. We try to get funding from the FAA in advance. We're unsuccessful in getting them to approve any funding in advance, but they said put in the plan and we can try to get funded in 2025. So the runway has a lot of cracks. It does need to be sealed. We need to maintain it. One of the things at the runway and that airport, it's a little bit different than the roadway where you have a lot less pavement out there. They're not having a typical roadway. You have a lot less rock under it. So the cracks, when they open up, they spread out quickly and they grow quickly because they just don't have that pavement cross section thickness. So be nice to get this done.
So what happened to if we don't use it, we lose it? And now we can't use it?
So we can, but it's different.
It's different.
Different funding, different process.
It's maintenance.
It's maintenance versus construction. Yeah, and even when you look at
Well, it's only for new money that you can use that money for. New construction, you can't use it to maintain what you got.
Yep, construction. Yep. So we do get some maintenance. So we have construction money and then we also have maintenance money, which I believe is $70,000 or $28,000 per year. Maybe they'll get from maintenance we use for plowing and other stuff out there. It might be per 2 years for that dollar amount. And then you get into different splits and different costs of how that goes. Some areas they pay for 100%, some areas they pay for 80, some 75, some they pay for 2/3, 1/3, and some they don't pay anything. So
See, this is what I don't like about dealing with the FAA. They can make up the rules as they go. You can't count on them for nothing. As far as that's just my opinion, but
usually they come through, but it's a long process to work through to get to that point of the end. And it is tough to get this stuff and to know everything up front. But
Is that 110,000, that special, the extra 110,000 4 years, is that restricted as well? That it can't use it for maintenance?
Um,
I think that was a
I'm
little
trying
more
to think
open-ended.
how that went. I asked Silas and the FAA. That answer as far as can we use the bill money toward this? And I can't remember what the end result was on that, but I know that they ultimately said. We can't use any of the entitlement or the bill funding in 2024. But we can try to utilize some money in 25. Still go through the process and build it this year. We just need to fund it up front. And then you submit later for reimbursement, kind of similar to what happened at one point with. The land when the county,
Yeah.
in that case, the county submitted for reimbursement, they got reimbursed and then they had to return some of that, but they kept some of the money that got Yeah, so
where's
I,
this 40,000 coming from?
so this would need to come from the county's fund balance. Because we don't have this much and I think we maybe did have like 10,000 in the county levy in 2024 for some crack fill. We did not have 40,000. So
With the assumption that we hope we get approved to get reimbursed in 25.
yeah, but if we get reimbursed. Runway and the apron, as long as they don't start excluding a few cracks in front of the hangars, we can hopefully get reimbursed. For 90% or 95% of this cost. So and that 5 to 10% remaining, yeah. But it'll come back to us in 25. Or 26.
Assumption we get it back, our net cost then is 2,000 to 4,000. We don't get it at all. We get hammered for the full 40.
We do, but we extend the life of the runway.
Well, you do have to maintain what you own, but.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, 1.7 million might cost the county 85,000. 40,000 might cost the county 40,000, might cost us 2,000, it's
It might cost us more than 85,000 too,
correct.
when this is all said and done. That's what worries.
Yep.
Could be 3 times as much, who knows?
Oh,
Is there a motion to approve the bid? Low quote, is
so moved.
there a second?
We do have to maintain what we have. So that it'll extend its life and we can continue using it, so I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
I believe I'm done.
I can drink some of that soda.
Thank you, Brian.
thanks, Brian. We'll move on to action item number 8. Consider approving rezone for Jason Amber Weezer to rezone area from the agriculture protection district to residential district. Crescent Township. Martin.
Yes. What we've got is. That's pretty much it. So what they're doing is they rezoned. The planning commission recommended the rezone, and the intent of it is for the neighbor, Ben Weezer, so his property will now be an open quarter in the ag protection district, and Ben Weezer has gotten a variance for that house project, so he'd be down to just needing the building permit, so that's the gist of it. And it's one of these that it's within 2 miles of the city of La Crescent. The comp plan for the county identifies projects less than 2 miles from a city. And this one's about 1.9 miles. And La Crescent does have this in their comp plan. And I don't think they have it in their capital improvement plan, but there are 2 options that are identified as possible routes for that. So that's pretty much the extent of it. And there will be no other improvement on Jason Weezer's property. It's just solely this changing of designation for the 2 parcels that are part of this.
Yeah, I know, butts are current residential area to the west.
Right. And there's that too, is that this is actually not the farthest out of La Crescent. There's one farther than that. In terms of the 2 mile separation distance.
Well, if you went to rezone it, you'd have to build on ag land, and that's what you don't want.
And that was what Ben Weezer was bringing up when this entire discussion started.
We didn't want to take away some prime farmland to the east of the property that's in question here too, so.
He's able to build into a little rougher land. That's definitely, it's probably, I think it's, the land capability classification is 6 and 7 in the area where he's looking at the house.
Technically, he should have been in residential district anyway.
Jason,
Been,
I'm not,
I mean, when Crest Township did the permit for that, they should have had in residential.
for the Gulf View Edition or whatever it was called. That's possible. Yeah.
On the hill there. The planning commission went through all the findings and found that there's should be permitted and looks like it protects some prime farmland with the move. Considering what's all happened out in the area, I move to approve the rezoning of Jason and Amber Weezer.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
The township's okay with it. I see the neighbors are okay with it.
Yes, we got one comment and they were for it.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah, on that hearing the other night at Rocky Drive,
Okay,
that was denied before it was tabled. How do you work that out?
I think it was, I thought, our understanding was that it was tabled.
No, them three over there voted no on the third findings.
I'll have to go back and look.
And that was denied, correct? Bob? You were here.
I believe there was a 3 vote. And
3 to 3. Well, all right, how many people
then
did we have? And we had, did we have the full? I'd have to go back.
It
and
was
look.
like the third or the fourth finding, and then that went down. It was 3 no's on the one.
Now I see what you're getting at. I was thinking of in total. Okay,
Usually add the rule, when one of them is denied, it's denied.
right, you gotta get them all.
Yeah.
That's right.
I was just wondering how you were handling that one, because they tabled it. It should have been denied, and then you should come back and get another permit for the house or changing.
I'll check through the notes to be absolutely sure, and then we'll go from there. But
My question then would be, you got your 13, 15 findings, however many were applicable to this. One of them was a no.
3 of them were no.
3 voted no on one.
There
There
was
was 3 different,
3 different findings that voted no, so there was no
Okay.
need to go further, so
Right.
the variance was denied.
but do you have to do a formal? After you've done all the variances or all the findings, you have to have a formal denial.
Good question.
Well, it should have been.
In the past, we've done it.
I
We went through, let's say the fourth or fifth one was denied, we did all the findings. And then we voted on the finding no. because the one did.
that's, okay,
And that's what we didn't do.
that's what I'm wondering about. That, you got it. That's exactly how procedurally it advanced.
It kind of got to the fourth one and then they voted no, and then Ken wanted to table it, and it should have went through the findings all the way and then.
And
voted
then-
down.
And then the issue of the septic.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering about. Is it's kind of like, well, if you do this, is this where this is going? But if you table this, is this going this way? Right.
Well, what I don't understand. It was being denied the way it was proposed, but we're gonna keep working with the guy to try to make this pass. I mean,
He's-
We don't usually go out of our way to do stuff. like that.
He's proposing to shrink the size.
Okay, but then we're gonna have to have another meeting to do that. No?
Well,
Or is this gonna be
And- and-
approved as a permit?
as at a minimum, if it were to be solely tabled, it would be that the revised project would be brought forward again. If on the other hand, it's truly denied, then he starts over.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah, so that.
That's,
so what are you doing then? So what do you do? He's still gonna have to get a variance? It's gonna be a shorter distance?
basically, he's proposing to take about 10 feet off of it. He can get it to the point where he can fit a type 1 septic system in the location. And then he would still be going for the variance for the north side of 5 feet, and he'd still be going for the 12-foot variance for cutting into the toe. Would
He
be
wants
the,
to cut 12 feet into that toe.
right. That's where I brought up the whole idea. I said, if you're looking at that, then we're seriously talking about an engineer to come up with a design for that.
'Cause I mean.
And that was
soil-
day
soil
one.
and Water, and they sent me a letter and they were not in favor of digging that back out because it's all gonna come down and go right into that bottom guy's land.
I mean, I made it real clear from day one that this is gonna take a Minnesota PE who's gonna run a model. I told them I want to see a factor of safety of about 1.3. They'll run the model and come up with what design would be
We're
required.
gonna put in a 13-foot retaining wall. He's digging into that back quite.
You know, I mean, it's hard to guess numbers, but I'm like, that's gonna be an expensive wall.
One of my flop over.
Well, the thing of it is, it's coming back before the Board of Adjustments again.
Right.
It's scheduled,
Yeah, I don't
and
understand.
it asks
how-
for 3 variants.
But then now,
And then
It's
the-
still the same 3 variants.
It is, it's just that there's not gonna have to be the variance for the septic. That was potentially out there as well.
So initially there was 4 variants.
They were, it was subject to different designs.
Okay,
Right, and this time it will not have a whole.
but the variances haven't changed.
The variances those variances are still the same, correct?
So how many shots do we get at this?
This would be it.
I mean, I've never seen where we can. Take a couple, 3 cracks at this in order to get it done. I mean, I've never seen that.
I haven't either.
Well, the thing of it is, it's the Board of Adjustments, so we don't really have anything to say.
No, but.
Well,
It's the zoning one.
Okay, don't forget,
Procedures, we gotta make sure the procedures. are
well,
done right.
okay, realize this, there's still the CUP. This is gonna also have a CUP. This is
Well,
not,
yeah, he needs to get the variances first before you
Right.
get it CUP, but.
right. Because the whole situation of it was abandoned for a number of years that wiped out basically its grandfather. So he's
And the
got that.
township was against it too.
Township, I could show you their language. They made comment. They gave, Delane said they were against it on the phone, but what they wrote was not exactly that. So it's got a lot of,
Variances were denied based on 3.
Well,
No's. Why would that change?
the biggest thing is we're going from a 1,200-foot trailer house to a 5,000-foot building. That's quite a
But he
bit.
shrunk the building size.
he's probably down to 4,000 feet.
I couldn't get much. 3,000 ain't gonna do much. Yes.
But, you know, I mean, what the tough part about it is that it's still fitting. You know, do you meet the standards? And as like Ken Visker said, you know, it's kind of like a number of these things have certainly been given consideration, and I'm not trying to, you know, redirect the Board of Adjustment. It's just, so it's like, okay, you know, there are those issues, and I mean, and with the slope one, I brought it up to Peter right away. I just said, you know, with this hillside, there's situations that could be unconsolidated material, that could be rock. I said there needs to be a fair amount of investigation to know exactly where it is, and there obviously was an old slide. I mean, there's total indication there's a circular failure that occurred there. You can see it. It's real glaring. I mean, so those are definitely things that need to be looked at.
And so. I just go back to the fact that it was denied. Why are we still trying to do this?
So that one should be just done with and he should be restarting a new variance for his new building, what size house he's gonna put in.
Well, that's what he's doing then, but. Usually if it's denied, the variance is denied, it's done.
Yep.
You're back to square one. You decide what you want to do with that property. If you just want to put in a little trailer house, maybe that'll work. But a big one, it's not gonna work.
I mean, if you've never been down there, it's not much room. I mean, it's a very tight.
It's tight. I mean,
Very
I
tight.
made the comment to him. I just said, you're trying to put a 10-gallon head in a 5-gallon hat. And I didn't really mean it as a joke. I mean, it was as graphic as I could, present it
If
to
we
him.
don't stand by our rules and regulations, and what good is it to have it?
Sit with the Board of Adjustment, this autonomous body, and the chairman put it off. For whatever reason, or whatever the justification. That's Board of Adjustment.
So they voted to table it?
I'll have to go back and read the exact language. My understanding is that they voted to table it, but I'll certainly go back and read those
Well, if
findings.
you listen to the minutes, you'll see Ken Visinger, he says, well, it's been denied already because 3 people voted no. That's when he come up with the idea to table it.
Well, and Jim Weezer was also in on some stuff too.
Who?
Jim Weezer was sitting,
Yeah, and he brought gas to my place this morning and he said that it should have been denied. You should talk to Franklin and then Wayne and them, and they would probably deny it, and we could just move on with the program.
Wayne was just in. I could have, okay, yeah,
That's just what I found out.
we'll take a look at it.
It's not our concern. I mean, it's the Board of Adjustment.
But if we don't do
Tell us
things.
for a CUP, that's different, but. Board of Adjustment is stands alone.
It kind of is our concern because it's our zoning office that is running this through again.
At the direction of the Board of Adjustment. He didn't decide to run it through again. Ken, as the chairman said, they're gonna,
He's not the chairman.
Franklin,
Franklin. Did
Is the
Franklin
chairman.
say we're gonna run it through again?
I'll go back and check exactly what was said.
Because that's why Ken Visinger wanted to table it, because they will. Yeah, the end of it. So if you listen to the tapes, you'll hear that.
I'll have to watch it. All right, we'll move on to action item number 9, consider reviewing payments. And reviewing and approving payments. Got the list here.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the payments?
They all appear to be in order. I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, on the board, discussion items. I don't have any updates and have any recent meetings, just except for negotiations. We've only met with 3 unions so far. We have 3 more to meet with that we haven't met with yet. And we're into May now, so.
So it's kind of a gap in between their feelings and our feelings so far, so.
On the other 3, yes. We're planning on having a closed session to discuss the negotiations progress so far. We'd like to meet with a couple more unions yet before we have that. So we'll see, maybe by the end of the month. Or maybe the first week of June.
So the letter that we got on our emails from Sam. Was that a discussion at the work group session?
Concerning the cannabis stuff?
No.
Banding.
Banding?
Banding of some of the people in his office.
That's. we can certainly have that discussion at a workshop.
We can have the discussion and there's action be the following meeting then.
Well, that's true to put it on. Agenda for this is what we're doing.
I've been talking with Sam on, he's related that he's gonna have a draft cannabis ordinance for the workshop for discussion. So
Total ordinance or zoning ordinance or
So we got to adopt
zoning
this.
ordinances for,
We'll have to adopt that into our new ordinances then.
still trying to find out on the old historic jail about letting the historical society take that over, and about the money thing is still up in the air.
yeah, editors are still hemming and hawing on that.
I was talking to Sam about this the other day, if we could probably do this, and it's just a thought, just an idea, but if we were to hand it over to the historical society with the agreement, knowing that, as they need funds for doing whatever they need to do, whether it's a roof or some work inside, we could release it at that time, or is it to match it for a matching grant application or something like that? We could do it that
Release
way,
as needed.
because we are allowed to donate to them. We do every year anyway, to give them 45,000. So we are allowed to donate to them as a group like that. So,
So they bid out a project and come and ask us for a donation.
right.
Force a piece, I guess.
Well,
I think we probably also need to, like, because the historical register, both buildings are on as one. I think that can make a difference.
that's something we gotta figure out if it can be separated. I
And
would,
of course, there's always it always actually got its heat from. There's lines,
well, no, it's got there's its own furnace in there, isn't there?
well, it's just a temporary one that. It's running now.
Right. We don't use the lines between the new building and the old building, do we? I think it's just that
Was there.
I think it's just a temporary furnace that's set up in there now
Mhm.
to maintain a 40 or 50 degree.
Make
So
them
we
prove
probably
it's
just
still
wanna
gonna
find
stand here.
Yeah, it'd have to stand alone, right? We gotta figure that out too, so it's it's gonna
Take a while.
take a while, yep.
Well, I talked with Rich Cordis yesterday, and he asked me what I thought about, we give him half the money. I said, I have to ask you guys. Well, I'll leave it up to the board. I said, you meet with them guys and discuss that. I said,
I like
Half would be better than all of it.
well, I'm not, that's what I was
I
saying.
mean,
We can get rid of it for half, why? not? I mean, if they take it over for $350,000 and we're wiped clean of it, I think that'd be a good deal. It costs us that to tear it down.
Right.
If we can do it legitimately, that's the way to go.
Yep.
So they're gonna be coming and talking to you, Eric, and who's on there with you? Who's on that committee with you?
Well, we didn't
We don't
really set up a
have-
committee. We just met with them to tour it.
You
So,
two guys met with them. They wanna meet with you again. Guess they were gonna have a meeting yesterday or a day before. He was gonna take it to their board and see what they thought, and then he wanted to know what I thought. I said, well, we'll bring it to the board when you guys decide.
I'll get a hold of Rich and talk to him.
Yep.
Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything right now off the top of my head to finish it off, but Greg, what do you got anything?
Oh, we had that EDA meeting last week. We gave out a loan for a little Italian restaurant that's gonna be moving into the old Alberts building. Think that's gonna be a pretty good deal for everybody.
Yeah, that hasn't come up for approval yet, but yep,
It should be, what, next week maybe, or week after,
Be
next meeting, probably.
yeah, 2 weeks from now.
And then had the zoning meeting, like, we had all that little hiccup, but other than that. I don't have much, I guess. But is there any way we can find out what that investigation came up with? Don't we have the right to see them results?
Sam was supposed to get a hold of you guys to let you come and take a look at it. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read it all or.
Never got
It's
contact.
unfounded and stuff. So all, I haven't read it in detail, but it's unfounded. Nothing done wrong.
That was
On our part.
determination by an attorney, but. I suggest all you guys go over to Sam's office and read all the summaries. Interviews and go from there.
Wasn't that quite a while ago?
Yes,
Paul.
No, but I mean, that we could go and read, I read that a lot.
yeah,
About a month, 6 weeks.
and I've tried to get a closed session on that, but I've been told that it's private data and we can't discuss that. In a closed session, we could discuss it in an open session but we have to be limited on what we can talk about. Because it's private data.
Jeez.
Hard to redact your conversation.
Yeah, it's about what.
Bob,
I didn't have any meetings with our week off and I sat in on the zoning hearing in some word in my district. So it's interesting. Something like that.
Commissioner Burns.
Okay. Here we go. I had a meeting with the individual named Dustin Schrader of Vila, I think is the name of his business. He's a broker for insurance, a financial advisor, and also a disabled veteran contractor. He's in a business with a disabled veteran and the general contractor for it. Wanting to know, and this is a question for you, I guess, Carol, with regard to our insurances and whatnot. He does brokering on insurance. Now, we have a company that does that for us, correct? Right. And how long is our contract with them? Is that a 5-year contract?
We're in a third year.
That's, we're in the third year with our
Medical.
health insurance contract, so they be with the guaranteed rates.
Right.
And if we don't bid, then they'll present their rates in August after we get some history. If the board wants to look at other rates, you can have service co-op. Or,
I mean, he brokers health insurance and whatnot. He lives in Houston County, was just asking about what the kind of policy was and if, you know, if he could bid our insurance as well. He specializes in tribal business and whatnot, but being in Houston County, he was just wondering about that type of thing.
make sure how.
Okay,
The service co-op is,
I'll do that.
They have dibs on us or?
well,
Like, why can't the union bid it? Can't they bid it?
they can, the union did not submit a bid the last time we requested bids for our insurance. It
Okay.
was the third year. Okay.
But we have to direct Southeast. That we want to open it up for bids. That's kind of weird how that works because we're we use them for insurance, but we can also use them for getting quotes from other. Well, I know, but I mean, there are brokers basically. Okay,
Because when we had Shield, it was,
right. And now we're, it's what, I did have
but,
Medica, right?
It was just a question.
Well, it's a good question, Bob, because I think it's something I'd be interested in having a discussion with him and, you know, maybe we should invite him to a meeting or something.
You maybe come to a work group.
Sure.
He lives in your district.
I got this email from him and I never responded back to him in 424, but
I did. Okay, next thing. I went to a Selco meeting in Rochester. I'm on the finance committee, so we met and reviewed Selco's financial position. Reviewed funding and whatnot there. There were some out of budget, so we did some fixing to bring the budget back into balance. So that's, so Selco's financial statement is, or the budget for next fiscal year is set. I participated in the county clean sweep project down at Houston, picking up light bulbs and paint. Was really well attended. We opened at 9, there was 10 cars in line and there was 10, 11, 9 cars all the time. Till noon, then there was only 2 or 3. Then noon got over and back they came. Thousands of pounds of paint, 1,000 plus light bulbs. It was really well attended. Some people came, saw the line, went and had coffee and breakfast, and came back, and the line never got any smaller. And you do kind of have to direct people how to drive, because if you want them to park this way, some think that means this way, and oh God, we had a mess. At any rate, it was a very successful operation. And then last night, was the Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Board meeting with their audit report. They're in pretty decent financial condition as far as that's concerned, no problem. And the departments did their presentations of the new things that are coming up. There's going to be, they're attempting to get this mobile crisis operation expanded. Right now, they only have 3 people. They want to get up to 6 people so they can have a team in Houston, Fillmore, a team in Wabasha, Winona, another team in Winona, so that it's a quicker response time. So that was kind of the big thing. One thing that they did ask me was, how are we coming on the juvenile facility? Because Wabasha and Fillmore are very interested in it. Winona had some interest, but Wabasha and Fillmore were very interested in it. So I reported that.
so you tell them we got a contract, we can have them sign.
I told them we're still coming up with the numbers. And I think the biggest number that I have concerns with, and I gotta talk to Craig Erke again, is the educational cost. And we're gonna have to decide how we would treat that. If we do this, the cost of running the jail isn't gonna be so much different. A little bit of training, an extra half staff, but we're charging $300 a day or $250 for the annual deal. So it'd be an increase in revenue to offset the jail budget. But the school part of it is the hard part, because they have to provide schooling. It would be a big cost to the school, anticipate upwards of $150,000. And the 176 days or 174 or 176 days of school, how many kids are we going to have? Are we going to have an average of 4 that need education for that 176 days, and then divide that out? And then how many are from our school district that they have to eat? How many from other school districts? How much are they charging in Carver County and South Washington County? So I'm waiting to get that information. Because from my perspective, I think we would figure out, let's say it's $150,000. We go trimester, we pay the school the $150,000, $350,000 allotment, but everything they charge comes back to the county on, I know you're shaking your head, but everything they charge comes back to the county until we've covered up that 150, and then we can split anything over and above between the school and the. Because I don't think we should put the $150,000 onus on the county or on the school district for something that we as the county are doing.
Should we had that discussion before we decided to do this?
But we haven't finalized doing it yet.
Yes, we have. We voted
We
last
have
week,
had
we
exceptions.
voted last week to house juveniles.
If there was ifs.
So there's a lot of ifs, but we voted to do it. Did we not?
With exceptions. If this doesn't work out, we aren't gonna do it. All right, well, that was. And here's my last piece of information. Filing deadline for District 3 anyways, all your districts that are up for election. Is I think it's the 21st or 22nd to June the 3rd or 4th. This is just information to throw in the paper. I am not running. So people in District 3 that are interested in being on the county board, I'm giving them 2 weeks notice, plus they got 2 weeks for the filing. To meet the filing deadlines. That's all
You're not gonna change your mind and
I'm not changing my mind.
in June, you know, you got till June, what, 4th?
You can say whatever you want.
I'm just
am
saying,
not
that's the
changing my
deadline.
We're gonna have old presidents who don't need old commission.
So I would put you in that class.
Gonna make it interesting.
Well, my term is up too, so what can I do?
Whatever you want, I'm just saying.
Well, it's good that you brought that up, because it is filing is coming up here, so, yeah,
And who else? Dewey and me are both up too, right?
yep. There's three commissioners up for reelections.
Well, you know, on this jail deal we were talking about, yeah, it's gonna bring in $91,000 for a jail site. What's it gonna cost to keep that room? What's the cost on something like that? Gonna be $30,000?
What do you mean?
Take for 91,000 we're gonna take in, what's it gonna cost us to house that one person for the year?
If we have to hire another half-time person. That's in addition to the budget. Carol, a half-time person gonna be 60,000? 50,000? 40,000? I keep coming down. That's all we have to hire.
Well, I'm being told that they're short-staffed already.
The staffing is already in the budget. To be full
I
staff.
know, but they're short-staffed now.
Right, you need to get another full-time, if we do, and with the juvenile hold, it's another half-time assigned. That's not in the,
And we're in a negotiation year too, so. I mean, we've met with them a couple times already. They have a significant ask, so.
Sure.
That's gonna go up too. If we come to that agreement.
all I know is there's a lot of counties looking forward to. We get this finally put together.
I think there's a lot of interest.
Dewey, you got a report?
Actually, been pretty quiet last couple of weeks. Meetings and stuff, so nothing to report.
Bob mentioned. Filing date for Board of Commissioners, it's you and. Bob Burns and Greg are up for re-election this year.
True, I'm not.
So it's. Would you say the 21st to the 4th?
It's a 14-day window. It's either the 21st to the 3rd or the 22nd to the 4th.
For me.
You were
May and
gone,
June.
so you missed it,
Okay.
but Bob said he's not running.
Consider.
So
Anything else? Any closing public comment?
it's Amy.
If not, is there a motion?
It's Amy.
Amy Silling.
Oh, in the recorder's office. Okay. Or not, DMV, whatever.
I'll make a motion to,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Is there a second? All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.